The film begins with a frightening sequence set in a Middle Eastern war zone. A group of U.S. Special Forces soldiers is being kept captive and tortured by their enemy captors in a tiny bunker. As the situation worsens, a female soldier named Wine is set to share the same fate as her teammates. However, her captain, Jesse Freeman, intervenes and informs the enemy that she knows nothing. Jess's stubbornness infuriates the enemy soldiers, who demand answers. Despite being electrocuted and battered, Jesse is determined to defend his comrades and refuses to reveal any information. Tensions increase among the enemy soldiers, who begin to dispute and turn against one another. Jesse faints in the turmoil, leaving his captors without the knowledge they badly needed. The opposing soldiers continue to quarrel among themselves, unaware that Jesse was simply playing possum. Jesse quickly unties himself and tackles his captors, taking them by surprise. He fights fiercely, saving the lives of 2 other troops and turning the tables on their captors. However, the threat is not finished. It quickly becomes clear that the enemy has detonated a bomb inside the bunker, forcing Jesse and his team to attempt a daring escape. As they flee, the explosive explodes, seriously injuring all 3 soldiers. Only Jesse survives the explosion. After a few years, Jesse has retired from active duty and is now enjoying a tranquil life with his family. He has a wife, Alicia, and 2 children, Ryan and Maura. Jesse works as a security guard, but he is frequently obsessed with work, ignoring his family. Concerned about Jesse's absence, Alicia encourages him to spend more time with their children. Jesse's 2 children had never gotten along, causing conflict in the household. As a caring father, Jesse chose to follow Alicia's suggestion and spend time with his children. He devised a plan to lure them to his workplace, a basketball stadium owned by one of the NBA clubs. On the day of their visit, the stadium hosted a special basketball game, which Jesse invited Ryan and Maura to watch. He promised them an outstanding experience because the mayor, Mrs. Christine, and the governor, Mr. Paul, would be in attendance. Diana, the stadium's new billionaire owner, was also expected to attend. Maura's face lit up with delight when she heard the news. Meanwhile, Diana and her boyfriend, Millie Hip, had just arrived at the stadium and were surrounded by journalists and fans. Back to Jesse, who continued to show Ryan and Maura about the stadium, introducing them to his boss, Devlin Montes, and a janitor named Gus. The kids were thrilled by the behind-the-scenes view of the stadium and wanted to see more. Meanwhile, stadium security officers were on high alert when numerous suspicious people claimed to be Wi-Fi service officers. After being vetted, they were allowed to enter the stadium. Jesse drove Ryan and Maura to their seats, but 2 boisterous spectators raised a commotion, prompting Jesse to interfere and calm the situation. While he dealt with the matter, Ryan and Maura were left alone for a little while. Governor Paul and Mayor Christine were ecstatic when the new owner, Diana, and her lover, Millie Hip, arrived at the stadium. They thanked Diana for her contributions to the city's development, particularly the management of the renowned basketball stadium. Unbeknownst to everyone, a squad of intruders had entered the stadium disguised as Wi-Fi service officers. Led by Job, they were able to hack into the stadium's security system and put bombs in strategic locations. The crew then changed into security outfits to blend in with the actual staff. The basketball game began and Job's squad began eliminating the actual security guards one by one, causing chaos and uncertainty throughout the stadium. Despite the excitement, Ryan and Maura remained unaware of the danger and watched the game from their seats. Diana, Millie, Mr. Paul, and Mrs. Christines sat in the VVIP area in another section of the stadium and enjoyed the game. While Jesse fought to catch the intruders and prevent the bombs from detonating, Job and his team were able to gain access to the VVIP room, which housed Diana, Millie, Mr. Paul, and Mrs. Christine. Job, posing as a security officer, originally attempted to trick everyone by claiming to be a big fan of Millie, and even admitting his genuine objective to rob Diana's belongings. The tension in the room rose as Job drew out his gun, inciting terror. Mr. Paul attempted to negotiate with Job, but the situation swiftly escalated when Job shot and killed Mr. Paul. The shock and terror of the event echoed throughout the room, while the others stared on in astonishment. Ryan was completely absorbed in the basketball game. His sister Maura, on the other hand, seemed unconcerned in the game and kept pestering him with questions about their father, Jesse, a stadium security officer. Ryan rejected her concerns, claiming that their father's career was unimportant. Maura became increasingly upset with her brother's disinterest and realized she needed to use the restroom, but she had no idea where to find one, so she snuck inside the security guard's toilet. What she discovered inside was shocking. The legitimate security officers were being mercilessly attacked by Job and his colleagues. Before she could flee, Job's squad apprehended Mora and took her away to prevent her from reporting the incident. Meanwhile, Job asked that Diana wire $1 billion to a hidden bank account. He then directed one of his teammates, Gamma, to destroy the stadium's communication systems, preventing security officers from talking with one another. Jesse returned to the stands and discovered that his daughter, Mora, had gone missing. He was dissatisfied with Ryan's inattention to his sister. Jesse noticed a tracking device connected to Mora's VIP card and swiftly activated it. However, Job's squad had already seized Mora and was in possession of the VIP card. They knew Jesse was tracking the card and used it to frame him for their criminal activity. Jesse was perplexed when he encountered several of his fellow security guards, who abruptly turned against him. He didn't want to attack them, but he was forced to defend himself. Jesse's skills as a security officer paid off, as he easily beat his attackers. After defeating Job's crew and clearing his name, Jesse was approached by another security officer named Gus. Gus saw something suspicious about the security personnel that day and informed Jesse of his thoughts. He added that the majority of the security officers had been replaced with new employees. Jesse's suspicions intensified, so he decided to explore deeper. He and Gus went to the security center, but it was too late. Job's team had taken over the region and was in charge. Jesse and Gus had to move quickly and flee to the living room. As they concealed, Jesse spotted Job's crew employing extremely advanced automatic guns, indicating that they were dealing with a dangerous and well-organized criminal organization. While being taken captive by Job's crew, Mora was able to mislead Omega and try and escape. She was apprehended again, but not before she managed to hide in the VVIP room. Diana ultimately discovered Job's actual identity as a former CIA agent who was sacked for murdering a Muslim family whom he accused of being terrorists. Diana shared this information with the others, causing Job to grow agitated and instantly threaten her. Meanwhile, Jess and Gus came across Gamma, one of Job's team members, who was planting a bomb. Jesse questioned Gamma about her security tablet and base, as well as if she was a new security guard, but she was unable to offer the requested information. Gus tried to capture Gamma, but it was a difficult effort. Unfortunately, even Gus was no match for Gamma, forcing Jesse to confront the tough woman. After a tough battle, Jesse emerged victorious. He wanted to know where his daughter was, but Gamma claimed to be unaware of her location. Gamma shockingly proclaimed that they would all die after the basketball game and then shot herself in the head. Jesse moved fast to defuse the device that Gamma had set earlier. Fortunately, his military experience had prepared him for such scenarios, so he disarmed the explosive device with ease. With the threat eliminated, Jesse and Gus focused on rescuing Mara and the other captives imprisoned in the stadium. Meanwhile, in the VVIP area, Job's rage erupted after Diana provoked him. However, his fury was fueled not just by her taunting but also by the recollection of his family's awful fate at the hands of the government. Diana responded callously, implying that Job's family had gone due to his own sins, further enraging him. Job became enraged and seized Diana, but he did not murder her. Instead, he had her choose between sacrificing her boyfriend Millie and Mrs. Mayor Christine. Fortunately, this gruesome plan was foiled when Diana's payment was placed into Job's bank account. Shortly after, Job called Gamma to check on their progress, but he was surprised to hear Jesse on the other end of the telephone. Job quickly dispatched his squad to locate and remove Jesse, and his worry increased when he learned that Gamma might be dead. However, just as he was about to give up hope, Omega appeared with Mora. While the VVIP area was filled with tension and hatred, the arena and stands were alive and exuberant, with the fans cheering and celebrating. However, Jesse returned to Ryan in a state of terror after being unable to locate Mora amid the mayhem generated by the intruders and their bombs. Despite Ryan's desperation to assist Jesse, the seasoned soldier advised him to stay put and avoid putting himself in danger. Meanwhile, Jesse and Gus set out on a risky expedition to find and defuse the bombs dispersed throughout the stadium. Back in the VVIP room, Job was interrogating Mora, but she remained unusually cool and composed despite his menacing approach and the gun pointing at her. In reality, Mora responded casually to Job's questioning, showing no symptoms of fear or obedience. Instead, she boldly stated that her father would come to her rescue. Jess and Gus worked frantically to locate the other bombs, but their progress slowed and they were at a stalemate. Jesse decided to follow Gus' advice and go to the announcement center in search of a new plan. He tried to persuade an officer named Bain to sound the evacuation alarm. However, before they could sound the alarm, two members of Jobs' squad stormed in and attacked them. Although Jesse evaded the intruders and fled, Bain was sadly shot and murdered in the confusion. Jesse, desperate for a place to hide, unexpectedly met Diana, who turned out to be his boss all along. When Jesse explained the issue to her, Devlin emerged and pointed his gun at him, exposing himself to be a member of Jobs' crew as well. Jesse, disappointed and startled by his boss's betrayal, understood he was completely alone in his quest to save Mara and the prisoners. With no other options, Jesse rapidly disarmed Devlin and engaged him in a physical combat. Despite Devlin's attempts to overpower him, Jesse quickly beat him and grabbed his listening device, which he used to deceive Job into believing Devlin was still alive. After discovering from Job that Mara was with him, Jesse set out to recover his daughter. Meanwhile, Job became concerned when he learned of Jesse's excellent credentials as a skilled United States Special Forces officer. To hide his worry, Job struck out at Mara and ordered Omega to kidnap Ryan, expecting to gain an advantage in negotiations with Jesse. Omega was tasked with convincing Ryan to leave the stands, but Ryan stayed loyal to his father's orders. Despite Omega's best efforts, Ryan refused to move. Job, a member of Omega's squad, used security cameras to find Jesse and promptly instructed Omega and two other team members to kill him. Jesse, who was looking for Mara, outwitted the trio and drew them into a room where he easily defeated them due to his military expertise. After incapacitating Omega, Jesse wanted to know Mara's location. Omega revealed the information and was subsequently slain by Jesse. Jesse sought aid and phoned Gus, who was more familiar with the stadium's layout. However, Jesse requested that the typical route to the VVIP area be avoided in favor of a surprise approach. As Jesse transmitted the information to Gus, the latter was astounded to learn that there were still active bombs in the stadium. With Jesse unable to be found, Gus opted to defuse the bombs alone, knowing that the game was about to end and the bombs were about to blow. Job was about to detonate the explosives in the VVIP room. However, Jesse stormed inside the room, shattering the glass in the process. Despite Jesse's abrupt entrance, Job remained unafraid and continued to press the trigger, causing the bomb to explode. Fortunately, Gus had successfully removed the other bombs, leaving Job perplexed as to why his bomb had not detonated. With no time to waste inside the building, Jesse rapidly used his weapon to eliminate Job and his team. Job saved himself by escaping with Mara. Following the explosion, Jesse dashed into the middle of the scared audience. Alicia, Jesse's wife, was notified of the bomb explosion at the stadium and rushed to the location. Ryan, who had been watching from the lower stands, saw Jesse and Job preparing for their final combat in the arena's upper hallway. Despite putting up a valiant battle at first, Jesse grew tired when Job drew out a firearm. Jesse eventually fell, leaving Mara to watch her father's defeat. In a frantic attempt to assist, Mara kicked Job in the genitals, which enraged him. Job replied by throwing Mara to the ground, but Jesse was able to get to his feet and save his daughter. In an unexpected turn of events, it was discovered that Job had a bomb implanted in his body. Diana appeared from behind Job and pointed a revolver at him. Job misjudged Diana's skill to use the weapon, but she fired without hesitation. To everyone's surprise, Diana shot Job. Jesse took advantage of the situation and began attacking Job, but he discovered a bomb inside Job's body set to detonate. Jesse quickly kicked Job down, allowing the bomb to detonate harmlessly in the air. The film concludes on a good note, with Jesse's family reunited and safe and the stadium rescued from calamity. Diana approaches Jesse and offers him the role of head of stadium security. Although Jesse is flattered by the offer, he declines for the time being since he wants to prioritize spending time with his loved ones.